Hi, I'm Tati, and today I'm talking about the Firebird Trilogy by Claudia Gray. I just finished the last book in this series a few days ago, so I thought I would make a video discussing the whole series. The first book in the series is 1,000 Pieces of You, then it's 10,000 Skies Above You, and finally A Million Worlds with You. First, let's talk about these covers since they're what drew me to the first book when it was released. They're so beautiful and they really connect to the story since they depict the different places the characters visit, as well as being very artsy because our main character is an artist. Now let's talk about the premise. This series takes place in a universe where alternate dimensions exist. Not only do they exist, but the technology exists to allow people to travel between these alternate dimensions. The physicists who invented this technology happen to be the parents of our main character, Marguerite. Because of this and a few other things, Marguerite ends up traveling through the different dimensions. I really enjoyed this series. I gave each of the books 4 out of 5 stars. While there was quite a bit of science fiction in the series along with some adventure and mystery, it is very much a romance. I personally really enjoyed the romantic elements of the story, but I knew they were part of the story before I got into it, which is why I'm telling you. It has great characters, which is a must for me. And it was a whole series of getting to see these characters in alternate universes. The concept of the different dimensions is that if it could happen, a dimension exists where it did happen. Because of this, there are some alternate realities that are very close to our Marguerites, while there are others that take place in different cities or countries, and even more that take place in what seem like different times. All of this makes for very interesting ideas about how our decisions affect us and what makes us who we are. That's all I'm going to say about it for this part of the review. For the rest of the video, I'm going to be sharing some of my spoilery thoughts. So if you've read the series, stick around to discuss it with me. Alright, so let's get into this. I love Marguerite. Although I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong, Marguerite is the way that I pronounced it through like the whole first half of the first book before I realized that maybe it was pronounced like Margaret. And then there's the whole part where evil Theo calls her Meg, so I really have no idea how it's supposed to be said, but I like to say Marguerite. Anyway, she's the only one in her family who's not really well versed in science, which means that in the story we get some of the science part of it, but we're not overwhelmed with it. Instead, Marguerite's passion is art, and I thought it was really cool how that part of her personality bled through all the different dimensions. Each story has a different plot that causes Marguerite to have to travel through the different dimensions. In the first one, she's chasing Paul because she thinks he has murdered her father. But of course, it turns out that he didn't murder her father, that her father is not even dead, he's kidnapped to a different dimension, and that the people who kidnapped him are actually from the company that her parents are working for. In the second book, Paul has been splintered, which means that there are pieces of his consciousness trapped inside Paul's of the different dimensions. The big thing about this book is that Marguerite gets to see different versions of Paul, Theo, her parents, and even herself that she never would have imagined. And it helps her to see that these people in these different dimensions are their own people. They're not just extensions of the people in her dimension. And it helps her to understand the consequences and even wrongness of traveling to these different dimensions and taking over these people's lives even temporarily. In the third book, we find out that Triad is trying to destroy some dimension. And Wicked, which is the home office's Marguerite, kind of the evil Marguerite, is traveling through the dimensions and killing the Marguerites in each dimension so that our Marguerite cannot get into the universe to save it. This means that our Marguerite is again having to travel through the dimensions, but this time she is chasing after the wicked Marguerite and is trying to save the lives of these other Marguerites in these other dimensions. Also throughout this series we have a sort of love triangle where Theo and Paul both are in love with Marguerite. However, this didn't really bother me because since we found out Paul wasn't a murderer, and even maybe a little bit before that, I was pretty sure where the romance was going. And now you know she ends up with Paul, but I warned you there were spoilers. Because this series takes place over a bunch of different dimensions, and there are a bunch of different situations that our characters are put into, we get to see a lot of different characters, like in the middle of their stories. And because of this, I felt like there were some little plot points or some stories that didn't get fully fleshed out as much as I would like them to have. Like what happens to Paul in the Mobverse, or what happens between the Russiaverse Marguerite and Theo, or especially what happened between home offices Paul and Marguerite, because I feel like there was a really big story there, and then that Paul just died and we didn't get to know any of it. Overall though, I really enjoyed the series. I'm glad that none of our major characters died, because I'm always just waiting for one of them to be killed off. That Paul and Marguerite ended up together, and that Marguerite ended up going for the school she wanted. Also, I just really enjoyed how this story was able to provide so many different settings and situations that we got to see our characters explore. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know about your thoughts in the comments. What did you love or hate about this series? If you like this video, you can let me know by giving it a like. I upload new videos to this channel at least once a week, so subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. Bye. I get messed up every time. So if you destroy universe. Thanks for watching. Bye. Nope, that's not how it happened.